I have often heard Evil Dead described as the most consistent horror franchise, especially nowadays, as so many of these series have gotten to go on for so long that the odds of any of them having a bad movie in their run just increases. But with Evil Dead, it doesn't really seem to happen, and I have to agree it probably is the most consistent, even if it's not one that I'm that personally attached to. Like, there are other horror franchises that I just happen to like more based on my own personal taste, even if I can acknowledge they do have some stinkers in them. But with Evil Dead, there isn't like that one movie where you go, what happened there? How did they mess up so bad? If somebody showed me their ranking of Evil Dead, pretty much any ranking would be kind of non controversial. Like, whichever one anybody happens to like, I get why you would like that one, even if I don't like it as much. Like, if somebody has Jason Takes Manhattan at the top of their Friday the 13th list, I'm going to have questions. Evil Dead doesn't have that. Personally, I like the 2013 one the best, like easily. I just really, really enjoy that movie. After that, probably the original. I'm not as big of a fan of the comedic ones. The slapstick comedy just doesn't really work for me, which a lot of people are shocked by because Evil Dead 2 is so beloved, but that's just not the one that I prefer. So now we have another entry, Evil Dead Burn, and another one coming next year, Evil Dead Wrath. This franchise is not slowing down, and this one is possibly my second favorite in the franchise, maybe third. It's up there. I enjoyed it. I've been excited ever since I saw the teaser. It's that long one-shot scene. I saw it in the theater when I saw The Mummy, and it just started playing. I had no idea what it was. I'm like, is there some horror movie coming out soon that I'm not aware of? What is this? And then the title Evil Dead Burn popped up, and I was like, oh, shit. So ever since I saw that teaser, I have definitely been looking forward to this. And it delivers what most people are going to be looking for, what is going to satisfy a lot of fans. You can go into this not having seen an Evil Dead movie before. There are connections to many of them with the lore. They definitely reference little things here and there. And also, it carries some things over pretty directly from Evil Dead Rise. So if you've seen that, if you've seen these, you're going to know a little bit more about what's going on. But if you haven't, you're not going to be confused. You're going to get the gist. Oh, demons get summoned and shit happens. Of course, you get it no matter what. But if you have seen those films, then there's a little bit more tied in here. And this movie really does not necessarily expand the lore, because like all of these pieces, all of these little things that are included are from other films, but they are brought to the forefront. The movie makes it clear that it is focusing on them. It is taking this lore seriously, and it seems like it is trying to build to something in the grander franchise. Building to what? I don't know. Like I said, next we have a prequel, so I can't even guess. But this takes elements that have been used throughout the franchise and kind of brings them together and makes it seem like they are trying to get somewhere with them, which is interesting. And I'm glad we have that because it is a really simple story. Deadites are fucking with people, but having those elements in here does add a little bit more intrigue into the middle section of the movie. And there are even two post-credit scenes. One, which is very important, and I'm not going to spoil them or anything about the movie at all, but it's big. And again, it's connective tissue between different movies. And so I'm intrigued about what could come next. Like Evil Dead Rise, we have a family as the focus of this film, although it's a very different scenario because the main girl's husband has recently died. She's not very close with his parents, many members of his family, and so now that she's spending this time with them as they're trying to grieve him, even though he was kind of an asshole, and she's not really all that sad that he's dead, and she's also got to put up with the shitty parents who don't like her. It's already a rough, dramatic situation even before zombies get involved. It's a place you don't want to be in. The conversations are really awkward. You don't really like this family, at least several of them, and you want her to stand up to them. And then everybody starts getting stabbed in the face all over the place, and it just gets so much worse. Suhaila Yaqub, I think that's how you pronounce the main actress's name. She was good. I enjoyed her as a final girl, because this movie does kind of cover the idea of trauma and abuse and grief, and I know that's something that every horror movie covers nowadays, and I'm deeply, deeply tired of it, but it's not like the forefront. It is focused on being an Evil Dead movie, and blood is splattering all over the place, and the Deadites are making fun of people and psychologically fucking with them. It's all the main things you want from Evil Dead, And then those themes about grief and trauma are just kind of sprinkled in there. It fits in very naturally. It doesn't feel obtrusive like it's taking the spotlight and it's just rehashing other horror movies. It's very fitting as the family becomes infected by the Deadites, and this girl can kind of finally stand up to the family the way she was never able to before. Up until then, she's fine as a character, but it's really throughout the movie as she gains more of that agency, takes more action, and finally does stand up and rise against them that she becomes pretty badass. And by the end, I liked her. There's a lot of blood. That should not be shocking to anyone. There are some very creative ways to injure people. Like, what I think they probably make a list of just like random things, household items, or just things in general that could ever potentially injure someone. And then they just pick, all right, which ones do we want to include? And how can we figure out a way to get it into somebody's body? They just injure people in all of these very creative, fucked up ways where it feels like the Deadites are really just toying with them, trying to have fun. They've killed so many people over the years. They want to get creative with it. And, I understand that. You want to keep the job fresh. And in addition to the physical abuse, you have a lot of the psychological abuse. The Deadites are really focused on saying whatever they can to emotionally mess with these people. And there's one thing that I don't like about the 2013 film, and that is actually the way the Deadites behave and how they're more vulgar, like, come down here, let me suck your cock, pretty boy. That just feels very artificial. That feels very much like a human's idea of what a demon would be. And it feels more generic, whereas the Deadites usually had more personality. And so that's one thing about that movie I didn't like, and they have toned that down in the next couple movies. They're not like that here. They are more about saying the things that could specifically get under the skin of the person that they're talking to. And like I said, we're already exploring the trauma of the main character, but even with other members of this family, there's one character who completely snaps. They just completely psychologically break. And I liked how that was handled because that's very realistic. A lot of horror movies deal with trauma, but to have the character behave the way this one does makes sense with all of the grief that has already happened to their family and what is now happening to the rest of their family. Even though you can look at this person and be like, what the hell are you doing? It makes sense how somebody could get that broken in a situation that bad. The Deadites don't even need to possess them. They have already completely vacated reality. They're already doing irrational shit without even needing to be possessed, just because the trauma of the whole event is so bad. It's dark. It's definitely mean-spirited. Even though you don't really like most of the members of this family, you're still watching a family tear each other apart, and there's very little levity to it. In fact, the few moments of levity that there are, I didn't like. There is a grandma who has dementia or some such. It's not specified, but occasionally she just says random things because she doesn't know what's going on. And I didn't find that to be a very funny joke in the first place. Just like, grandma says random things. It's just not very clever. But also, I didn't like the placement. It really felt like we were just in the horror. Some truly fucked up shit was happening. We just cut over to grandma. She says a weird thing for 2 seconds. And then we cut back to the horror as if that didn't just happen. And it just didn't mesh for me at all. It felt very awkward and out of place. If you're going to do the Evil Dead comedy, I feel like it needs to be incorporated into the horror, into the absurdity of what's happening. Even in Evil Dead Rise, when you get like the eyeball flying out into the guy's mouth, you get some of that slapstick in there. Whether I'm overall a fan of that tone for Evil Dead or not, if you're going to do the humor, that's the kind that you need to do. Whereas just cutting over to this one character saying weird shit sometimes, I didn't like that. Visually, there's been a lot of talk based on the trailers about how gray the movie looks, and it definitely is. It's definitely muted. They're going for that intentionally to fit the dour tone of the entire thing, but it looks better than the trailers do. Like, there are some parts of the trailers where everything just looks so flat, nothing really stands out, and it looks much better in the actual finished product on the big screen. It doesn't visually appeal to me as much as like the 2013 film did. I think that has a lot of really beautiful shots in it, but this one does too. This has a lot of really nice looking moments when it does have color. The few times that it really does, it pops a lot. And just overall, even though it doesn't stand out necessarily with its colors, just the way a lot of it is shot and the things that we're seeing, like the fact that we have this snow falling down through the entire movie, that just adds a nice atmosphere to the whole thing. The way some of the Deadites are shot, there are some really creepy shots of some of these things, whether they're in the water or bloodied from various circumstances or just standing out in the yard staring. Those are like the scariest moments to me. Just the shots of them standing there and you don't really know what they're going to do next and the tension is there, especially the one in the water. I don't fuck with underwater shit. That gets me. Don't put deadites in the water. My God. If I'm in that situation, I'm going to take myself out. I'm not even going to wait for you to do it. And I really like the way it's directed. There's a lot of really creative camera work. You have that one really long shot that goes through multiple rooms as there's a whole bunch of chaos unfolding in the background. There's a shot with a mirror that's really cool as the perspective changes in the middle of the shot. There's a lot of like twisting camera work as it follows the Deadites' movements in various ways. And it feels very much like trying to pay homage to Evil Dead and Sam Raimi without just copying. It doesn't feel like Sam Raimi. It definitely feels distinct, like the director putting his own spin on that. So it definitely feels like it fits in what many movies in this franchise have been like in terms of their direction, but still feels like it's doing its own thing. The one visual I didn't like is this one CG thing that happens later on in the movie. And in a franchise that is so focused on practical effects and everything looking so good and so real, a lot of the practical effects, like you see parts of the insides of people's bodies in this, and it just looks legitimately real. Like all the detail with the bones and the whatever the hell it is running through there, it looks real. It looks really good. And so when you have something that's CG, it just inherently is less impactful. Even if there was a person there and they were just augmented with CG in certain ways, even then, it just doesn't look as convincing, especially when you have the entire rest of the movie and all the practical effects to compare it to. When you have all the actual Deadites attacking, it feels weighty. It feels like there's real danger there, and it feels so weightless when you have the CG. It doesn't feel like anything is really there, and it looks fine. And for what this thing is, you kind of had to use CG. It's just not as convincing. And considering it comes later in the movie, it's more of a climactic thing. I would have liked more from that creature and from the climax. The use of CG at that pivotal point in the story was fine, but it did take me out of it a little bit where I wasn't enjoying it as much. It didn't feel as climactic. Like at the end of 2013, even though the thing getting chainsawed is clearly just like some dummy laying on the ground, it's still fucking awesome because there's a thing getting chainsawed and it just looks so cool. When you have the CG, it's like, oh, a thing is happening to a CG guy. I don't really care as much. Other than that, I have some things that aren't totally like complete negatives, but are leaning a little bit in that direction. I wish the characters were a little stronger. Like I said, most of the family is unlikable. Most of them that are memorable for being assholes. And you have the main girl who's pretty good, and she rises to the occasion very well, but she's not such a strong character that she can carry the whole thing. I needed like one more character who I could maybe root for a little bit. As a whole, it's mainly just her, and the entire cast, even though they're not made to be likable, generally kind of forgettable. They're more interesting when they become Deadites and they're made to act crazy and violent, but as actual people, it didn't really matter. I was kind of waiting for them to get possessed. I'm like, you will probably be more interesting once you are possessed. Let's just get to that. There were parts where it almost seemed like it could actually take some of the characters in an unexpected direction and do some character bonding that I didn't expect, but it doesn't really end up happening. Other than that, it is just a case of diminishing returns. People who want the slapstick Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness kind of Evil Dead, I understand. Not getting that can be frustrating. I enjoy having a variety, even if one style appeals to me more than another. But if you like the serious, violent Evil Dead, I think this is a very solid entry. And even though that is the tone of Evil Dead that appeals to me as well, I do worry about it getting run into the ground. You know, ever since 2013, that's kind of been what we're doing. We've been sticking with that tone. And I haven't liked one nearly as much as that since. I liked this one significantly more than Rise. I liked Rise when I saw it in the theater, but I had some issues with it. When I rewatched it recently, those issues were really exemplified, and I actually found it pretty boring. It's basically at the bottom of my ranking. I'm not really a big fan of it, actually. So I do just wonder, how many times can we do this? The movies are still being enjoyed, clearly, but when you have, once again, the Deadites are here, and they're gonna attack you guys, there's gonna be a bunch of blood, and then the movie ends. It's like, okay, that was another solid Evil Dead, which is a fine thing to be, but there's only so many times you can really do it without doing something more. And again, it feels like they are building to a little bit something more lore-wise. What may that be? I have no idea. But I definitely think we need to freshen it up a little bit in terms of the story going forward, if we are going to maintain interest, because there are so many times you can actually do this. It doesn't stand out as much when we have had the same kind of thing happen over and over. When they are so similar, I always feel like, well, I'm just going to watch the 2013 one again, because that one's my favorite. So if I've got to watch one, I'll just watch it multiple times. I did like this one enough to watch it again. I did enjoy it, but it's just a matter of, it is a bit more of the same. I hate that I have to say the 2013 one every time. I can't call it a remake because apparently it's within the continuity. I could call it Evil Dead since there's no "the" in front of it, but those names are too similar. It can get confusing. But anyway, I enjoyed this movie. I'm being very careful not to kind of overrate it the way that I did with Rise. I came out of Rise thinking that it was my second favorite in the franchise, and now I have it at the bottom of my ranking. But I'm self-aware about that now. So while it did not blow me away, it mostly gave me what I wanted. It gave me the gore. It gave me an idea that we might be heading towards some more interesting story development in the future. It gave me a pretty solid final girl. And some of the things that hold it back, like the CGI or the humor, luckily those are minimal. It's really just the one CG thing, and with the humor, it's only a few moments here and there. It's not groundbreaking. It's not redefining what an Evil Dead movie can be. If you don't like any of them, I can't imagine you would like this one either. It's another serious Evil Dead movie, and whatever that means to you is what it means to you. And I say it in a way that is better than Rise, because I think this one has more visual identity and more going on with the characters and better gore. It's a fun, gnarly Evil Dead movie, and I like that so many different directors are getting their chances to make these. No matter how much I end up liking any particular one, it's cool that so many of them are getting a shot to contribute to the franchise, this time with Sebastien Vanicek bringing in a little bit of his French style into the whole thing. Solid time. I enjoyed it, but leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you into the serious Evil Dead? Do you like the funny stuff? Do you want more of a mix? Where do you want the franchise to go with the style and the story? I wouldn't mind having different ones if we follow some that are more like this, having some that are more horror comedy. I think variety is the spice of life, but we'll see where it goes with this whole thing. We're clearly building towards something. I might make another video talking about the spoilers of the ending and the post-credit scenes. I'm not sure yet. I don't know if you want to see that, but maybe. What are your favorites? What are your least favorites? Leave all your thoughts about Evil Dead Burn and the franchise. I want to talk about it all down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time.